Question is, why do Theravada monks eat meat? Now, this is a very sensitive question, and there are many different opinions concerning meat eating, but it is best that we refer to the Dhammavuddho, the Suttas and the Vinaya to know exactly the Buddha's views about meat eating. When we look into the Suttas and the Vinaya, it is quite clear that the Buddha and his disciples did eat meat. For example, in the Vipaka Sutta, Majjhima number 55, a personal physician of the king, the Raja, by the name of Jivaka Kumarabacha, came to see the Buddha, and he seemed unhappy, and he asked the Buddha whether it was true that the Buddha and his disciples ate meat that was purposely slaughtered for the Buddha and his disciples. And the Buddha said no. The Buddha said that he and his disciples only ate meat with three conditions. Firstly, that they did not see that the animal was purposely or specifically killed for them. They did not hear that the animal was purposely or specifically killed for them. They did not suspect that the animal was purposely or specifically killed for them. With these three conditions, then only is meat allowed. Without these three conditions, meat is not allowed. So, from this sutta, we know that the Buddha and his disciples ate meat. Another one is in the Anguttara Nikaya 8.2.12, where a general by the name of Siha, he had just been converted to Buddhism, and he invited the Buddha and his disciples to his house for a meal and served the Buddha and his disciples meat. Now the external sect ascetics were jealous of the Buddha and his disciples and went around spreading the word that the Buddha and his disciples ate meat that was purposely slaughtered for them, and Siha, the general Siha, was very annoyed and denied this. Another sutta is the Amaganda Sutta in the Sutta Nipata, where it was stated that the previous Buddha Kassapa, was reviled by an external sect ascetic for eating meat. And this external sect ascetic said that the Buddha was defiled because of meat eating. And Buddha Kassapa said that defilement does not come from eating meat, but from the mind itself. In the Vinaya, we find it is also very clear that the Buddha's disciples ate meat, because in the Vinaya, the Buddha said that there are 10 kinds of meat which were not allowed. Human meat, elephant meat, horse meat, and then wild animals like a leopard, tiger, snake, bear, even dog, etc. And the reason was that if before making this precept, it seemed that the disciples of the Buddha in their travels, when they came to certain villages, they were served some of these meat of the wild animals, but after eating the meat of the wild animals, when they went into the forest to meditate, because of the odor that came because of the sweat, for example, if they ate tiger meat, and then when they sweat, they would emit the odor of tiger meat, and because of that, they were attacked by tigers, and similarly for the other animals. And because of that, generally the Buddha made this rule, which means to say that normal meat, that is chicken, duck meat, pork, beef, etc. were allowed. Now it is also stated in the Vinaya that if a monk is sick, then it is allowed for him to ask for special food like milk and honey, meat and fish, etc., but not if he was not sick. And also clear meat soup was allowed for a sick monk in the afternoon or evening. And there are many other instances in the Vinaya which shows that the Buddha and his disciples ate a kind of meat that was allowed. And why? Because with the three conditions mentioned before, if you don't slaughter the animal and don't ask somebody else to slaughter, don't see the slaughter and don't hear the cry of the animal as it was slaughtered, then there is no direct karma involved in eating this type of allowed meat. Now, as far as indirect karma is concerned, there is it is true that there is indirect cause, but not actually karma. There is an indirect cause, indirect contribution, but that is to do with worldly cause and effect, and not karma vipaka or Buddhist cause and effect. Because we see that even by being a vegetarian, we still do contribute to the killing of animals indirectly just by living. For example, we all want to live in houses, and because we want to live in houses, they have to clear the forest, large areas of forest, to build housing estates. In the process, many animals are killed. We want to use electricity. Because we want to use electricity, the government has to build dams to dam the river. When the water rises in the rivers, a lot of animals are killed in the process, so we are also a party indirectly to the killing. And because we want to use household items, they have to clear large areas of forest to build factories. In the process also, many animals are killed. And we want to eat fruits and vegetables, and they also have to clear large areas of forest land to plant the fruits and vegetables, and that also causes indirectly the killing of animals. In addition, the farmer sprays insecticides to kill the worms and the caterpillars, and also the insects like grasshoppers and snails, etc. And even by eating vegetables and fruits, we are also a party to the killing. And because we want to be free of disease, the government employs people to shoot dogs without license every day. And even just living, we cause indirectly the killing of animals. Now, some people say that because of eating meat, we create a demand, and that causes the killing of animals to provide the supply of meat. Now, this has to do with worldly cause and effect, and not Buddhist cause and effect, which has to do with karma, because there is no direct karma of killing, but there is an indirect cause. But that reasoning is not valid as far as karma is concerned, because if it were valid, then we would not. We should not be driving cars or even sit in a car or a bus. Why? Because by driving a car or sitting in a car or bus, we contribute to the demand for cars, and that causes the car industry to make more cars and vehicles every day. Now, we know by statistics that every day in the world 2,000 human beings are killed by motor vehicles every day, and countless number of animals. So by driving a car or sitting in a car or bus, we are indirectly a party to the killing of 2,000 human beings every day, and countless animals, which is worse than the eating of meat in a way. So that kind of argument that by eating meat you create a demand that has to be satisfied is true only from the point of view of worldly cause and effect. Now, most vegetarians believe that if the whole world became vegetarians, there would be no killing of animals, but that is quite a wishful thinking. Every day in Australia, thousands and thousands of kangaroos and rabbits are killed every day because they eat the crops and fruits, etc. And if we were to free all the animals and everybody became vegetarians, imagine how fast the animals would multiply, and they would be running all over the place, and the government would have no choice but to kill the animals even if we did not eat the meat. It is the karma of animals in a way to be killed. And as far as Buddhists are concerned, we should follow the Buddha's teachings and not be involved in the direct karma of killing. If we want to be vegetarians, that's very good from the compassion point of view. But if we chose to eat meat, then only the type of meat that is allowed by the Buddha with the 3 conditions should be taken. That is, we don't see, hear or suspect that the animal was purposely or specifically killed for us.